Marvel gets the license to make comics about the toy. They just pretty much make up everything about, you know, where he came from and what. Same time as a few other series. By far, I guess would be, say, the most popular and successful. Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today we're looking at box number 127. We're going to pick up with some more Rogue. We're going to have Rogue and Gambit. We're going to have Rogue's Gallery. We're going to have ROM. That's a good one. We're going to have all the Runaways. We're going to get into some Saga of Sub-Mariner, Saga of this, Saga of that, and end up at St. George. So it's going to be a great show. Thanks so much for being here. Please like and comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I really enjoy showing off my collection to you. Hey, let's get going here on Glenn Simpson's Comics. All right, we'll pick up with Rogue. She had a couple of mini-series that we saw in the previous box, but this is her first ongoing. Beautiful painted covers by R. Michaels, maybe? That's issue 1 through issue 6. If you'd like to see all those covers, be sure to comment and request it. Let's see, we've got a different creative team comes on with issue 7. Still a nice cover, just not that kind of painted thing. And issue 7 through 12. There. Then the next Rogue series, I think would be technically the Mr. and Mrs. X with Gambit. That was, we saw in the M's, and then Rogue and Gambit get this next series, or mini-series, which I don't know why, but people are paying, a lot of money's changing hands for issues of this. I'm not sure why. But issue 1, there. Issue 2. Go. Issue 3. Everybody in their past costumes. Issue 4 in each other's costume. So yeah, this is like a $49 book. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know what's going on. And issue 5 right there. Then during the Krakoa period, Rogue and Gambit have one more series. Nifty little painted covers. Issue 1 through issue 5. There. Jumping out of that Rogue, just to Rogues in general. We've got this Rogues Gallery pinup book from DC. Just kind of each page is a pinup of different villain. The New Year's Evil one-shots, where I think they were like some 5th week one-shots where each one features a different villain. This one is about the Flash's villain Rogues Gallery, or the Rogues, all together. Then jumping back to the X-Men's Rogue, we got Rogue Storm from the Age of Revelation. Rogue and Storm not getting along, and getting into a little bit of a skirmish between them. Issue 1 through issue 3 there. We've got Rogue the Savage Land. So back in the early 90s, you had the storyline where the X-Men went to the Savage Land. Rogue was already there, and when they got there, and she was kind of buddied up with Magneto, and this is kind of going back and telling a little of the story of how she got there and what what went on to cause them to form that bond. It's a great excuse to have J. Scott Campbell covers with her in her tattered outfit. Issue 1, Kazar, Zabu, through issue 5. These are the variants, the J. Scott Campbell variants. I'm sure the regular ones don't have any more clothing than these do. Alright, and that brings us to ROM. So, ROM was a toy in the 70s. And you figure whoever created the toy had, something in mind when they created it, but that's, that backstory never gets conveyed anywhere. So then when Marvel gets the license to make comics about the toy, they just pretty much make up everything about, where he came from and what he's here for and what he's doing. And so he is from the planet Galador, and he is someone specially selected to get implemented with cybernetic armor that he can't ever take off, and he's not real happy about it. But to go and fight the dire wraiths, who are these shape-shifting aliens, and he finds out there's dire wraiths on Earth, so he comes and he fights them. And along the way, he meets lots of the Marvel Universe, both here in his own book and in other books. So then Marvel eventually loses the license, so then those adventures in other books can't be reprinted, nor can this series. Until fairly recently, they got the rights to at least reprint ROM in some kind of omnibus, or as I like to call it, the ROMnibus, which would be the only place to see these other than buying the original issues. So this is the first issue introducing ROM and all of his background and stuff. We've got issue 2 there. Al Milgrom, I think, on cover. Issue 4. It's funny because the other Space Knights get cool names like Firefall. They're like G.I. Joe, Roadblock, blah blah blah. He's ROM. I don't even know if it's supposed to be all caps all the time, or if he's, capital R, lowercase O-M, but because everything in comics is always all caps all the time anyway. Most people do it all caps all the time. Issue 5, Doctor Strange. Issue 8, we've got some Mike Golden coming on to do some covers and possibly interiors. I don't recall. Issue 9, Serpentine. Issue 12, meeting the Jack of Hearts with his George Perez designed costume that is way too complicated for anybody other than George Perez to draw without complaining. Issue 13, I think this probably tells us a little bit more about his background in this issue. Issue 16, the Watch Wraith. There. Issue 17 with the X-Men. Again, for the longest time, this would have been, getting this back issue would have been the only way to see this story, because they couldn't reprint it anywhere because they didn't have the rights. I just find that fascinating. ROM 20. So this is Brandy. I can't remember her superhero name, but this was his, love interest on Earth for the longest time, and then she became a Space Knight as well. She's kind of on the wrong side here for first, but she'll get back. She'll get over it. We've got the Torpedo. He had a one-shot over in like Marvel Premiere or Marvel Present. Yeah, probably Marvel Premiere. And didn't really take off, as it were. But he got used over here as well. Became kind of a supporting character in ROM. 24. Got Nova and the new champions showing up. There. Oh, fighting Skrulls, which is like, wait, these are not my shape-shifting aliens. These are different shape-shifting aliens. So many shape-shifting aliens. 25. Just remember, you can double your RAM, but you can't double your ROM. There. 28. So Torpedo would, I think, die or something. Not necessarily here, but at some point. And then his armor will get passed on to actually two people, a guy and a girl, who will share it, and they will appear in New Warriors, as we saw in a previous video. Down in the mines. 31. So this is actually like the second or third appearance of Rogue. But you know, they can never reprint it. I'll quit saying that in a minute. But against the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. $32. All versus Hybrid. He's ugly. I had an early issue of ROM. I think it's one of the annuals that Hybrid appears in, and he's just gross. He's creepy. And 34. Fighting the Sub-Mariner. There. And more Sub-Mariner. Check out this guy. Ooh. Oh. And 37. Ed Hannigan. So Ed Hannigan, let's talk about Ed Hannigan for a second. So he was like, he did so many covers for Marvel in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. And you know, he's kind of an unsung hero. I think he didn't necessarily do tight pencils. He just kind of laid out, you know, okay, we're going to put the guy here, and we're going to put a guy, you know, ROM here, and then the other artists would come in and knock it out. But so many credits to his name. It's a little surprising he's not better known. 38 with some Shang-Chi. I realize we're not seeing every issue, but this is like the first issue we've seen some dire wraiths on the cover. Be sure to put in your request to see every issue of ROM Space Knight, if that's what you want. Issue 40. There's Steve Leialoha. I'm saying that right. Issue 41. Getting all cosmic and stuff. Living Tribunal. Issue 44. Steve Aiken and Brian Garvey doing the cover. If I remember their first names right. Issue 45. Steve Aiken and Garvey. Going up against the Soviet super soldiers. Some early Russian mutants. This is one of my earlier comics as well. This is the original too, I believe. Superheroes! Yay! 48. ROM giving it up, man. The heck with it. That'll last a while, I'm sure. 49. I'm back. With Brandy and her coffin-shaped head. I don't remember her Space Knight name. 52. Ooh, Bill Sienkiewicz coming on for some covers. Doing his Bill Sienkiewicz thing. 53. More Bill Sienkiewicz cover. There. Aha! Issue 56. Got Alpha Flight, and if you where goes Alpha Flight, so goes John Byrne. John Byrne cover on that. Marina. Issue 57. More John Byrne cover. 60. Now there's a Dire Wraith for you, man. Jackson Geis doing the art. Brandy gets her head not coffin shaped anymore. That's lovely. Yeah, they could change the shape of all the other characters, but they can't change the shape of ROM because he's always got to look like the toy. Sip. DM. I can't remember who that is. There we go. Issue 61. P. Craig Russell. There. Issue 65. Series ran them for a while. Got Beta Ray Bill, the Avengers, helping out ROM with the Dire Wraiths. Doo-doo-doo. 68. More Bill Sienkiewicz, or as I used to call him when I was a kid, Sankiewicz. Issue 69, dude. Bob Layton. Yeah, we're trapped inside Ego, with Ego, the living planet, as seen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, except, well, pretty much except as seen. Except he doesn't really do the whole, man-sized body. He just is a big old head. 69. 72, another early book for me. The Beyonder, who had been the very powerful being behind the very first Secret Wars, comes to Earth, is wandering around and showing up in various people's books, and granting wishes and mucking about with things, and turns Rick Jones, who had been the Hulk sidekick and the Avengers sidekick and Captain America's sidekick, turns him into, a superhero. And of course, since he's influenced by the Captain Marvel's sidekick as well, turns him into kind of an amalgamation of all of the people he's a sidekick to. Issue 72. '73. Al Milgram and one of the Romitas. 3. 75. P. Craig Russell again. And at 75, we reach the end of ROM. So, and they had some annuals. I'll Milgram on this first one. And Bob Layton on this last one, going up against Gladiator of the Imperial Guard. And we've got, I just picked up the first issue of this. I think I got it for a good price, or dollar box or something. First issue of Rorschach. The post-Watchmen. I think I was mainly concerned with, well, okay, how does Watch? I thought he died, you know, but it didn't really, you know, float my boat enough to pick up the rest of it. Tom King is hit or miss with me. Rose and Thorn on my list, but so far I only have the first issue. Rose Forrest is a gentle, quiet, meek young lady who has a dual personality, and her other personality comes out. It is Thorn, who is a kick-ass vigilante who doesn't wear a lot of clothes. We have Roxxon Presents Thor. So this was going on during the whole Immortal Thor thing, and the idea was reality has shifted, and Roxxon, which is the originally was the substitute for Exxon. I was a grown-ass man when I figured that out. Roxxon takes over, sort of takes over the world, or if magically makes everybody think that Thor has worked for Roxxon this whole time. So this is sort of the comic book that they would publish, where Thor is constantly talking about the benefits of using oil and gas or things like that. And this is a variant of that. So, because even Roxxon would push variant editions. Then we have Royals. This is another take on the Inhumans, the royal family, hence Royals. Got our royal family all badassed up, grrr, which technically I kind of prefer over the chatty chat. But Al Ewing, John Boy Myers, good stuff. Issue 1. I remember something about John Boy Myers getting upset, or them not letting him do what he wanted, or he said something he wasn't supposed to say. I can't remember why, but he left early on this, so they got this other artist on here. But there you go. Medusa and Maximus. Got Medusa having had her hair cut short, which is not good for Medusa, given that her whole power is controlling her hair. Issue 7. There. Quicksilver. And it ends with issue 12. There. And this one shot, Ruins. Ruins had originally, I believe, been a 2-page, it's kind of a weird thing, had been 2 issues. So they reprinted the 2 issues as 1 issue. So now it's a 1-shot. And it's kind of like, what if everything had just gone wrong in the Marvel Universe? Just everything is, so Bruce Banner, instead of, getting, Gamma, becoming the Hulk as a result, he just gets cancer, just dies. That kind of thing. It's just, everything is just ugly. But that is the 1-shot for Ruins. And that brings us to Runaways. So Runaways came out during this whole tsunami period, same time as a few other series. By far, I guess would be, say, the most popular and successful of them. A group of kids are gathered together once a year, and they kind of have grown up together on these once per year get-togethers, and that while their parents meet in the other room, and it's supposedly about a charity and things like that, and the kids get to an age where they get curious about what their parents are doing, so they sneak down and find out the parents are having a sacrifice to a evil god, and the parents are actually supervillains, and so the kids decide to run away and escape their evil parents. So they go on the run. It's kind of like each set of parents represents a different type of supervillain. There's the high-tech one, there's the magic one, there's some time travelers, some things like that. And this is, her code name is Sister Grimm, eventually, when they get around to giving themselves code names. And she leads us off here on the cover of the first issue. They got their own couple of season-long TV series for a while there. So, and they pop up here and there. They just recently had their own like 5-issue miniseries during the Doom thing that was going on. So, Dr. Doom. So, anyway, Runaways, #1. And that's, of course, the first appearance of, like, all of them and everything. We got issue 2. There. His parents were, like, the street crime parents. Villains. Of course they were. Issue 4. It's Gertie. Her parents were the mad scientists, and they had grown a velociraptor that is coded to take care of her. One interesting thing is, Gert is canonically, supposed to not be a hot chick. She's overweight. That's what makes her different. But this artist apparently had such a hard time. She drawing an overweight girl that she still comes out, looking kind of, like the other girls on this. Issue 4. We got issue 5. Of course, most of the covers of the first, I don't know how many issues, were all just beauty shots of the various characters. This is Chase. He isn't himself that great an inventor, but he manages to make off with some inventions of his tech villain parents. Issue 5. Issue 8. Mr. Grimm again. She's the magic person. She's by far probably been one of the most widely used of them. She actually shows up in other places, and I think she's even in games and things. She's frequently goes by her regular name of Nico Minoru. Issue 9. There. Through 12. Getting a little bit of plot. Hanging out with Cloak. There. Because, hey, he and Cloak and Dagger are Runaways as well. Issue 13. Through 18. youngest one is super strong. The blonde is half alien. That's her parents are the alien supervillains. She can fly, and well, she's not half alien, she's fully alien. She can fly and shoot little blasts and things. Oh, sorry. So that was the end of the first Runaways series. So that did pretty well. So they brought it back. Got our second series here, issue 1. Issue 4. Gert and Chase. They're falling in love. Once again, Gert is supposed to be overweight. Issue 5. And for that matter, she's supposed to be 13 or something, you know. Through 12. There. Got 13. Molly is again the young one, and she's a little bit like the girl on Bob's Burgers. You never see her without her hat. And 16. Getting badass now, man. 17. Through 24. So I think Gert's still around. I think Gert dies. And so the Velociraptor bonds with Chase. There. So at issue 25, Joss Whedon of Firefly and Buffy the Vampire Slayer comes on to write for a little while. We've got some new characters. We've got this guy who is he is an android built by Ultron who rebels. All the androids always rebel. And we've got a Skrull member as well, all of whom, so everybody's running away from something. 25 through 30, at which point their series ends, and we pick back up with the next one. Issue 1, they pick up, there's a time travel adventure. They pick up a little bitty girl who can control plants. Issue 1 through issue 8. Chase still enjoying the inventions of his parents. Nine. This is, of course, Carolina. With her flying glowy powers. And 14, the return of Gert. Okay, so that's more like it for Gertrude's body type. But we interrupt that return because Secret Wars comes along. And with Secret Wars, we've got to have a mini-series that has the same name as a normal series, but the details are different. So we've got Winter Soldier, and some other characters showing up who aren't normally Runaways characters. We do have Molly, and there's some kind of Battle World school that they all attend, that kind of thing. Issue 1 through issue 4 right there. Sanford Green on art. And we picked back up fairly recently, last few years, with a new series. They're a little older, a little wiser. Issue 1 right there. Through issue 8. So Carolina starts kind of dating Julie Power of the Power Pack. And I think I mentioned this a couple of videos ago when we were looking at Power Pack, that the ages of the characters, of the kids in Power Pack, just kind of seem to fluctuate. And I think it's, I guess the best way to headcanon it is they are generally, they got older, although they got a lot older faster than Franklin Richards did, but that's a whole other ball of wax. But that if you read an actual Power Pack series where they're young, that takes place in the past. Hopefully there's nothing that contradicts that theory. But in the but while, you know, in other stuff that, in other books that aren't Power Pack books, they're getting older. And so Julie and Carolina form a romantic relationship here. But she doesn't actually join. And because there's this whole, sorry, there's more to say. So there's this whole conflict between them, though, because Julie is like, I'm a superhero and I go on patrol and blah blah blah, and Carolina's like, well, I'm just going to stay home and, you know, watch TV and Netflix and chill. Can we what are we gonna do? So anyway, issue 9 there, going up against Dr. Doom. Issue 16. So the poor Ultron kid, Victor, got reduced down to just a head, so they put him on a drone so he could still hang out. Issue 17, we have the return of Alex, who had died in the original series, through 24. So they are kind of doing the superhero thing here a little more seriously here in 20 by this point. So then we go to alright, then we've got issue 25. This guy comes along, he was a superhero, he convinces some of them to become superheroes. Through 32. And dang. Hang on. We've got 33. Which would have been a great time to explain who this guy is, but I did something. I got some packs out of order. I'm going to fix it in the edit. So look forward to hearing about who this guy is. 33 through 38. They make it to 100 issues. Oh, great stuff. Good stuff. All Alright, insert edit here. Do the One World Under Doom series I mentioned earlier. Runaways. Group's kind of hanging out. At some point, a stray Doctor Doom robot came to live among them, which is hilarious comedy relief because, you know, he's caring for them, he's, you know, cooking for them, and, you know, they're like, you know, I wanted my eggs scrambled, and he's like, Doom commands you to eat your fried egg. You know, he's just, it's hilarity ensues. And the youngest sort of, which is a relative term, member of those evil gods that the parents were sacrificing people to, comes to live among them, and he's trying to understand their ways, and he's going to starve to death because he can't eat food. He literally needs something sacrificed to him. So things are looking bad until he comes upon a stray cat that winds up killing mice and bringing the mice to him, and that's enough to keep him satisfied. That's issue 1. That's not all that happens before this. This is just, you know, the Doombot. They, you know, Dr. Doom's other Doombots come to retrieve the stray one. Issue 1 through issue 5. And oops, some stuff got out of order. We'll edit. So prepare for ugly edit. Alright, that finishes up the Runaways. So next we have a couple of Rune books from the Ultraverse, Malibu Ultraverse. As I mentioned before, sometimes I'll get non-Marvel DC things when there's a crossover with Marvel DC. Gives me a sampling of that character. As I recall, I didn't really get Rune. I don't really understand what's going on with Rune. But you have Rune and the Silver Surfer. And we have Rune versus Venom, which I got this fairly recently, so this is a little more top of mind. I mean, Rune just appears to be just a vampire. I don't know why we have I mean, I know we have Morbius, so that's an entire book dedicated to a vampire, but kind of weird. I have Rush City. So this is kind of just a street level series, nothing to do with superheroes, and about a guy who's kind of a mercenary bodyguard type, and he does things, and it seemed to be a good excuse for this automaker because I guess they paid DC for him to drive their car. I'm drawing a blank on the exact model. But yeah, it's featured prominently throughout there. And we have... so welcome to the S's. And of course, if you know much about comics, you know we will be in the S's for a very, very long time. S being a very popular letter. So, welcome. We start with Sable and Fortune. So, Silver Sable, Dominic Fortune. Silver Sable, the world's most deadly mercenary. Dominic Fortune, fast-talking PI. They'll save the world if they don't kill each other first. I mean, what more do you need to know? Right there. Issue 1 through issue 4. There. Then we get into some Sabretooth. His first solo series. Issue 1 through issue 4. there, Mark Texera. Get Sabretooth, Mary Shelley Overdrive. Mary Shelley being the, of course, author of Frankenstein. It's issue 1 through issue 4. We've got this Sabretooth, which I believe the open season part shows up in the indicia, or it shows up in enough places that I wound up considering that part of the title, which is why it's not just Sabretooth Volume 2 or whatever. So, Sabretooth Open Season, Part 1, Issue 1, through Issue 4, Fighting a Wendigo. And we get Sachs and Violens, or Sachs and Violens. So this is a George Perez creation. They are basically private investigators, but they dress funny. And they are out tracking down killers there. And it's an excuse for Perez to kind of... He liked things... I read some stuff that, he was a little on the, he liked some kinky stuff, So, nobody hurting anybody, but, he was into that stuff. So, issue 1 through issue 4. This, of course, also takes place in New Orleans, which is down the road. Then we get to Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior. So unlike something like ROM, where it was a toy and they made a comic book series, this was a comic book series that they created, and then they tried to get people to buy toys, and I don't think it worked out. And I got the first few issues and was like, so then I switched over to just getting the ones that had other Marvel characters in it. So that's issue 1 through 4. And then I skipped to issue 6. Nightcrawler. And 11. Final issue with Alpha Flight showing up. It was the shiny crystal people versus the lumpy stone people. Oh wait, I thought of a good one. You've heard of Game of Thrones? This was Game of Stones. Anyway. Next we have Saga of Ra's al Ghul. So reprints of various stories of skirmishes between Ra's al Ghul and Batman from various past Batman comics. Issue 1 through issue 4. There. Neil Adams. And we've got a 4-issue limited series, the Saga of the Original Human Torch. So the original Torch had recently started appearing in Avengers West Coast. So they went through and kind of did a history of him. It only took 4 issues because he kind of, quit being used right after the war, for the most part. And but it's all new art and retelling his history. It's issue 1 through issue 4. The original android Torch was created in the late 1930s, and there was a flaw in the android system where it would burst into flames, and then it got it under control. So it's ironic that he's called the Human Torch because, you know, he's not human, he's an android. He picks up what was later identified as a mutant kid named what's Toro's real name? I forget Toro's real name, but his code name is Toro, and so now he's got a kid sidekick who can also burst into flames. This is, of course, then later on, you know, Johnny Storm of the Fantastic Four will also develop the same ability. Issue 4 with that. Then we have the Saga of the Sub-Mariner. So he gets a 12-issue limited series, similar, going through and just retelling his whole history, kind of trying to put all the disparate pieces together and make it make sense. Issue 1 through issue 4. The Sub-Mariner and Human Torch kind of slugged it out the first couple of times they met. Early comics were weird because it's like, you know, hey, these are our two big characters, so when they meet, they should hate each other. But they do eventually come together as the Invaders, which is, of course, actually retroactive, but they form a team with Captain America, fight Nazis. Issue 4 through 5. Then he survives to the present-ish. Jumps onto the sliding timeline, if you will, and becomes a bit of a nemesis again for anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. Joins up with the Hulk, and they collectively duke it out with the Avengers. There. We identify that the Sub-Mariner is a mutant, so therefore he gets all tied up in the whole mutant politics between the X-Men and Magneto. And issue 12, we catch up with what was at the time the present. There. So next we have some Saga of the Swamp Thing. I've never been a big Swamp Thing guy. I pick up a few issues here and there, trying to maybe pick some more up now. Thus far I have, and also some people put this series under just Swamp Thing, like Volume 2. I did recently break this back out because it does say Saga of the Swamp Thing for the first X number of issues. And then it switches over to being just Swamp Thing again. So that's why we're getting some right here. Saga of the Swamp Thing number 4, which I bought this and sort of broke my rule because I have this story in a digest where it was reprinted, so I didn't catch that. But issue 4. Issue 14 with Phantom Stranger. Issue 15. There, Crystal Guy. Issue 24. Justice League. Floronic Man, who is an old Atom villain. Of course, Floronic Man will go on to be the one to reveal to Swamp Thing his true nature. That doesn't happen here yet. 26. Etrigan the Demon. 27. There. And we have a facsimile of 37, which is a reprint of the first appearance of John Constantine. There. So then at some point after that it becomes just Swamp Thing again, so we'll pick up with that when we get to that box. Finally, we have St. George. So Marvel has this epic line. It's a little darker, and Shadowline is a little shared universe within that, and St. George is a series within that, and I forget what, he's like a knight, a modern day knight. I forget what his gig was, but St. George, number 1. Then Kevin Nolan doing a... Does this look like the guy from Letterkenny? I'm just noticing that. Anyway. Issue 3 of St. George. And that ends this box. Okay, so that was 127. Next time we'll do 128. We will pick up with Salvation Run. We will get into a little bit of Sandman. Then we'll get into all kinds of Savage things. Then we will get into some Scarlet things. And we will finish up with a Secret thing. So it's going to be a good time next time. Hope you'll be here. Thanks so much. Hey, have a great day.